The Marine Toys for Tots foster care program is bringing hope to children who need it most. Every 2 minutes, a child enters foster care, often with only a small bag of belongings. More than 400,000 children face trauma and uncertainty, many before age 8. This May, during Foster Care Awareness Month, Toys for Tots is creating Room for Joy. In 2025, nearly 375,000 children received comfort through toys, books, and essentials, reminding them they are not alone. Donate now and change a child's life.
Excuse me! Taxi!
Come on, what are you doing? This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Today is May Day.
And there were a lot of clowns, John, out there literally dressed up as clowns.
Does anybody, what is May Day? First, let's tell everybody what... we all hear today's May Day.
Right.
What is May Day?
Well, it's a communist holiday. It's supposed to be workers versus the bosses, and they're taking it to a whole new level. I mean, today, John, the protesters, they're all over the place. They're anti-ICE, they're anti-Trump, they're anti-this, they're anti-that. And we have some interesting information, by the way, on who's funding them.
Who's funding them?
Let's go to some breaking news on that.
Breaking news, WABC.
So this is in just a few minutes ago, John, that there are about 600 organizations. They're spending $2 billion budget
for May Day?
For May Day, 3,000 protests across the country. And guess who the biggest backer is? Neville Roy Singham, who's an American who lives in China with ties to the Chinese government.
So does that mean that, look, any businessman is not going to write a check for $2 billion. Does that mean the Chinese government? I'm going to go to Ed Cox, because there's nobody that knows China in this room better than Ed Cox. Your opinion, do you think that the Chinese Communist Party is funding him?
One way or the other, they will find a way to fund it if it's effective in impacting our politics.
Now, no matter how much money a businessman has, the businessman is not going to spend $2 billion on funding 3,000 protests for May Day in the United States of America. I want our listeners, all Americans out there, to listen to what I just said. Judge Weinberg, any opinion?
The opinion is that you have a foreign influence to try to destroy this country and divide us amongst ourselves. And it comes from China. It comes
$2 billion?
Well, this guy's, made a lot of money, and he's living like an emperor.
Guaranteed. I will certify that. I don't think it's his money.
Well, and you guys, this explains it costs a lot to do signs. It costs a lot to ship the protesters in.
And you got to pay the people that are champion. In other words, stir up the protesters.
Exactly. It's expensive.
Governor Patterson, any opinion?
I actually agree with you, John. I don't understand how that much money could be raised and that many supplies could be brought in such a short period of time. I mean, as much as it's unbearable, it's kind of amazing that they could actually do that.
Well, I want to tell all Americans out there, I try to say it very simply and very easily. $2 billion, if this guy is a businessman in China that's an American citizen, he's not spending his own money. And you got to realize that. So America is under attack, and everybody has to realize it, that these people, at least they're paying the people that put them together.
Yeah, the organizers.
The organizers.
And John, by the way, I want to play this because Mondani's going to be at one of the protests today. And shocking, exactly. And one of the supporters, also a big fan of the protest, is the Seattle mayor. I want to play this clip because the Seattle mayor was asked just recently. This is a shocking comment. What do you think of the fact that you're driving away the rich? It's what's happening in New York, happening in Seattle. She's a member of the Democratic Socialists. Her name is Katie Wilson. And John, wait till you hear this.
I think the claims that millionaires are going to leave our state are like super overblown, and if the ones that leave, like bye.
And she gets applause for it.
Yes, that's a good point.
Look, I don't know what Mayor Zoran Mandami is doing, but look, I already told the whole world that I'm trying to work with him to have common sense and to make sure New York City and New York State survive.
You love the city.
I love the city, and I hope he does the right thing. But the facts are that socialism, in my opinion, doesn't work.
History shows it doesn't work.
Ed Cox.
Especially not here in New York, which is the capital of finance and capital of capitalism in the world.
And you know what's going to happen? If the middle class keeps leaving New York, the people that are going to suffer are the people that have jobs that work for New York State and work for New York City, because you know what's going to happen? If S&P, the bond ratings, Moody's and S&P, if they put New York City, New York State on the crap list, they're not going to be able to make payroll, and they have to reduce the amount of workers. Governor Patterson, any opinion?
Well, I think, John, that the most incredible thing about this whole thing is that there's a protest, but no one has explained to me what the protest is about.
Right. I don't think they know.
In other words, usually, like if it was a protest, if somebody had been shot by the police or something like that, you would know what the issue is. I guess that's why maybe we should play Barbra Streisand again, because they clearly are not very good at putting their message out. Back years ago, those protesters against the Vietnam War, they were organized.
Yeah, you're right. At least they had a clear focus.
And to John's point, New York City is already on the crap list with the election of a socialist mayor. We've been downgraded by 2 of the 3 bond to negative. Our credit is negative here in New York. 2 of the 3 leading bonding agencies.
we gotta pay our employees, and there's 200,000 state employees, if I understand, and 300,000 city employees.
Right, so it's a lot. Now, by the way, before we move on, you guys, other breaking news on Iran.
Breaking news, WABC.
Just a little bit ago, President Trump said that Iran is asking for things I cannot agree with. And he said, I'm not satisfied what they're doing. He said, I would prefer not to bust the heck out of them and pelt them with bombs, but all options are on the table. So something may be imminent there. Lots of stuff happening. Well, boy, oh boy, you guys.
Well, we got General Holt coming on at 5:30.
And KT.
Stand by and see what KT McFarland has to say and what General Holt has to say. There's no two people that are better at predicting things like that.
Absolutely. And it's a big deal. It could be imminent.
Listen to this podcast now
On the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Leadership Thread with Dr. Peggy Polonis.
I'm Dr. Peggy Polonis. Join me on each episode where I unravel the story that shaped leaders, tracing the thread that led them where they are today. Because leadership isn't born in adulthood. And thank you once again for joining us on the Leadership Thread, education, ethics, and sustainability.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.